As none of me, as none of me? No. As none of you may know, I study psychology at A level, and I've got an exam coming up that I'm retaking because I failed it the first time. So I'm retaking it, and I thought I had an idea, and I thought it would help me revise. Plus, well, I'm hoping it'd be interesting, but we won't obviously know till I do it. So let's get crack-a-lackin'. I totally stole that word. I'm sure many of you have heard of Sigmund Freud. I'll stick a picture of him somewhere, he'll appear. But he was a famous psychologist from the 19th century. Wait, the 20th century, sorry, I get confused with those centuries. I don't get why the 20th was in the 1900s. He developed a form of psychology called psychodynamics, and he had, according to him, there are 5 psychosexual stages that every person must go through if they're to grow up and be psychologically healthy. The first stage that everyone goes through is the oral stage of development, wherein a mother will try and teach the kid how to breastfeed or how to eat. According to Freud, the second stage of psychosexual development is the anal stage. And I know that because I said psychosexual, you're all thinking, anal sex. But it's just to do with when the baby's potty training. The phallic stage, wherein a kid, the child, the infant, will start to realise the differences between girls and boys. And yeah, that's, as you should know, the difference is a wiener and boobs, but obviously they're like 9, so they wouldn't have boobs yet. But there was an interesting story that goes along with the third stage, and there was this little kid called Little Hans who lived in some fucking crazy country like Alberta or something, and he was scared of horses, and his dad texted up Freud and was like, can you help my kid's, he's scared of horses, my kid of all people, is there something wrong with him? Freud, being the crazy pervert that he was, said that it must be because he wants to bone your wife. I don't know, that was an actual theory. Freud actually said that this little kid who's scared of the horse wants to bone his dad's wife, his mum. Freud called that whole thing the Oedipus complex, and it involves the little boy being jealous of the dad being able to please the mum in ways that the little kid cannot, which I can't see any logic behind that. Why would you want to sleep with your mum? The girl version is called the Electra complex, by the way. The fourth stage is the latent stage, where absolutely shit all happens. There's nothing goes on. It's really boring. Then you pass through that, because I can't see how there can be any problems with nothing. You get past that, and you get to the genital stage, where if you reach that stage, then you're awesome. According to Freud, you'd get a certificate, a medal for reaching the 5th level of psychosexual development. If you manage to reach the 5th level, then you're healthy, psychologically healthy, which is a good thing, so well done you. Freud also theorised that most of the working mind, most of what makes us us, is the unconscious that we're not aware of. He's got a famous iceberg diagram where the tip of the iceberg is the conscious that we know, the tide level is the pre-conscious, which can change and we can become aware of things or forget things if we have to, and the unconscious is the bulk of the iceberg underwater that we don't know. In the bulk of the iceberg there are 3 components. There's the id, the ego, and the superego. The id, on this side, is the one that's like sex, rabble, sex, yeah. He's the one that the instinct. He wants sex, food, drink, whatever. He doesn't care how he gets it, who he hurts, he just wants all of those things all at once. On the other end of the unconscious spectrum, there is the superego, which I can just imagine as Superman. You know, superego is, I can just see Superman in my head. That's the morality principle. It wants to do the right thing. And in the middle, between the two, the mediator, is the ego would have the id whispering, sex, I want sex right now. In this here, the superego would be whispering, we can't have sex here, I mean, what are you thinking? That's not even possible. There's too many people. The ego has to be the compromise, because if it wasn't compromising, then we'd be really fucked. If the id is in control, then that is what causes psychosis in abnormal people. Whereas if the superego is in control, then that causes neuroses, which I'll explain the difference right now. Psychotic people are the stereotypical schizophrenic murderers. Neurotic people, on the other hand, are super controlling. They like to have everything right. OCD is the most prominent one I can think of. They like everything to be correct. Don't ever go up to a person with like OCD and rustle their hair, because they will flip to shit and kick you in the face like that, but with a foot. Obviously, as you could probably guess from that, this theory is really outdated. Still practiced and everything, but I personally don't think it's very valid. Surprisingly, psychology is a science, and since none of that stuff that Freud said can actually be tested, then it can't be disproved. I bounce around a hell of a lot. I'm like fucking Pingu on tarmac eating roast potatoes. I bounce around a lot. So I'm gonna stand still. I've said pretty much all I've been taught, and so this has been really good revision, because I've literally spoke about everything I've been taught, which, yeah, I find it really hard to revise, so this has been a good way of doing it. So because of that, I'm going to say something that I'm not particularly proud of, but it needs to be said. I just need the 1 minute to compare.